Hey everyone, what's up? This will be the last video I make on the Archon Type B Gen 2. I'm not going to port the barrel like I had planned. I'm going to sell it because I don't like it. Keep in mind what I present in this video is strictly my opinion based on my experiences with this pistol. I'd like to hear your experiences and opinions about it in the comments. If you have this pistol and like it, that's awesome. Don't be offended by my opinion. My opinion shouldn't change yours. I'm not trying to ruin your enjoyment of something that you own. Let's get into it. My experience with this pistol is pretty well captured in the videos I've made about it, which are all in a playlist. Link is in the description. I have compared the amount of muzzle rise it has under recoil to other pistols with different bore axis height and barrel locking mechanisms. I have evaluated it as a suppressor host. I've made detailed videos about the operation of the barrel locking and trigger systems. I've made a comprehensive trigger upgrade video, which includes spring tuning, polishing, modifying the sear to reduce creep, and even drilling and tapping the fire control unit for an over travel stop screw. I only have about 500 rounds through this pistol. That's not a lot at all. You may use this as justification to dismiss my opinions, and that's fine. I certainly won't be able to comment on the long-term reliability or durability of this pistol. I just don't care to shoot it anymore, so 500 rounds it is. I still think I have a good feel for this pistol and understand it from a mechanical standpoint. I think I can also adequately convey and describe why it doesn't suit my preferences or work well for me. Let's start with some good stuff. I think this is a cool pistol. It looks cool. It's unique. It has a unique barrel locking system. The design of the trigger mechanism is a unique take on the fully pre-cocked striker system. I don't think this pistol is even that much more complicated than any other fully pre-cocked striker fire pistol, even with the unique system. I think the overall design of this pistol is well thought out and executed. I think the trigger is good for a striker fired pistol. I certainly think it's above average. I will talk about it more in the negative section though, because it's not really to my preference. It does shoot flat. It shoots pretty nice, but it didn't really blow me away or shoot that much nicer than some other striker fired pistols that I own that I compared it to. It's well built. The materials, machining quality, fit, and finish are great. It was reliable for me with different types of ammo and different magazines. Speaking of magazines, it is compatible with CZ75 mags. This is great. I own a 75B and a Shadow 2, so this was a big plus for me. It worked with a few different full-size 75 mags, except this one. This is a factory one from my 75B. This long projection on the front of the base plate here interferes with the front of the mag well in the grip and causes issues. I tested CZ75 compact mags with the grip in the compact configuration, and they work fine. Factory CZ mag and a Metgar mag. I think the modularity of the grip length is really cool and well executed. You can run it full size, compact, or subcompact. When I bought this pistol, the subcompact magazines weren't available, but now they are. You can get them through Range 6. It uses Glock sights. I think that's great. I like that the pistol uses a serialized FCU with interchangeable grip modules. I think this thing makes a great suppressor host. Since the barrel doesn't tilt as the action cycles, it behaves nicely under recoil. Is the suppressed shooting performance so much better than my other favorite suppressor host, my Beretta 92X, that I want to keep this gun? No. The biggest issue I have with this pistol is the price. I'm going to keep coming back to this. I paid $900 for this one. It's the RMSC Optics Cut model. The cheapest I have seen an optic cut version of this was the RMR cut model for $780 on Battlehawk. Even non-optic ready models are still around that $800 price. Speaking of the optic cut, this RMSC cut version is not really optics ready. It's optics capable. I cannot speak on the RMR or acro cut models as I don't have experience with those. I do like that it's direct cut. Plate systems are great to be able to run different optics and give that flexibility to the end user, but there are usually extra screws and possible points of failure. If you know the optic you want, I think direct milled is the way to go if possible. The way this optic footprint interacts with the internal components of the slide causes issues. They had to integrate recoil bosses around the screw holes to get enough thread depth. To minimize stress concentrations, they put a radius at the bottom of the boss. This interfered with all three of the optics I mounted on this pistol. I had to chamfer for the bottom side of the screw holes on all the optics. Also, the holes are different depths, so I had to cut 2 screws to very specific and different lengths. It was very annoying, and these are things I don't think your average consumer or gun owner would do. So that's kind of why I don't really consider the RMSC cut version optics ready. I have issues with this grip. It doesn't agree with my hands well. The circumference is too small. I have large hands, I wear large size gloves, but my hands aren't huge. I feel like there isn't quite enough room for me to get my support hand in here to make a good amount of contact with the grip. I find myself constantly needing to readjust my grip while I fire this. It came with rubberized talon grips, super slippery. I've put the granulated sandpaper ones on, and this was a huge improvement. I think it should have come with these installed or at least thrown in the box. They're $20, like give us that, especially for the price you pay for this thing. Since it's a polymer grip, stippling is obviously an option too. It does come with 2 back straps for the compact configuration. Neither of these fit my hand well. There are no other back strap options for the subcompact or full-size configurations. I think if this pistol was more popular, more grip options would pop up in the aftermarket, or maybe Archon would release more back strap options. This corner right here smacks into my thumb knuckle. I think this stupid thing is a gimmick. I did not know what this was for. I thought there was something like on the fire control unit that needed clearance right here. That wasn't it. A few people commented on my other videos saying this bump is designed to press into the web of your hand and make you grip the pistol tighter under recoil. Do any of your other pistols have this? No. Can you grip them just fine? Probably. You know what would work better than this? Better grip texture and more ways for the customer to adapt the grip size and shape to their hand, like more backstrap or grip module options. It doesn't really bother me that much while shooting, but I still think it's a fucking ridiculous and preposterous feature if it's really designed to make you grip the pistol tighter. The factory mag button was hard for me to actuate. It sits flush in the rear, so you have to reach way forward to press it far enough to release the mag. I designed and 3D printed a mag button extension. This was a huge improvement. Before I start talking about the trigger and how the pistol shoots, I want to make it clear that my disappointment in both those areas was partially due to false expectations. I saw reviews and videos like this.
Probably the fastest polymer frame striker fired pistol that I've ever shot, and if not, it's pretty fucking close.
And like this.
Now, I have said this before in a previous video, I think this is possibly my favorite striker-fired gun. Right out of the box, you get one of the most solid triggers on the market. The trigger has not been touched. This is completely stock.
I'm not criticizing either of those creators, and I'm not accusing them of being dishonest. I believe they really do feel that way about this pistol. I'll link to those videos in the description so you can see the full context around those clips. The fault is my own for allowing such things to inflate my expectations of this firearm. However, it's hard not to get those inflated expectations when all of the reviews that I saw about this were so overwhelmingly positive. Of course, this pistol isn't responsible for my interpretation of the media that I consume, but things like this led me to believe the trigger was going to be amazing for a striker-fired pistol, and it was going to shoot super flat, and I was, more convinced due to the price I was seeing this pistol sell for. I was disappointed in the trigger, and while it shoots nice, I don't think it shoots nice enough to justify the price premium. I still think even had I not fallen for the hype, I would still have been disappointed in the performance based on the price. The trigger out of the box is good for a striker-fired pistol. I would say above average, but what makes a trigger good or bad is largely subjective and preferential. I didn't like the amount of creep in the break. The action was a bit gritty. And regardless of preference, I would guess that most people agree that excessive over travel and a long reset are negative qualities in a trigger. This had both those things. Out of the box, I didn't consider this trigger any better than my stock CZ-P10 or my M&P 2.0 triggers. I went to great lengths to improve this trigger. I made a very detailed video about it. I tuned the trigger return spring and sear spring. I polished the whole system. I modified the sear to reduce creep. Then drilled and tapped the FCU to install an over travel screw. This greatly improved the trigger. I would say the single biggest improvement for me came from the over travel reduction. The trigger is very nice now for a striker fired pistol. I still prefer the Overwatch trigger in my P10F or the Apex trigger in my MMP 2.0. Is the average consumer likely to swap springs, polish the action, modify the sear and the FCU to improve the trigger? Probably not. If you get this trigger and you're similarly underwhelmed by it like I was and you want it to be better, send it to Range 6, have them fix it up for a few $100 on top of the $800 to $900 you already spent on the pistol. Another issue that I have with the trigger is that it pinches my finger meat between the bottom of the shoe and the trigger guard. I think this corner right here in the shoe face is a bit too low. It kind of pushes my finger down. I have skinny ass fingers too. I imagine this would be much worse if you had girthy sausage fingers. This pistol is known for having a low bore axis, which leads to less muzzle flip. It is indeed a pretty flat shooting pistol. But when I took it to the range, I shot it side by side with some of my other striker fired pistols, and the difference in recoil was not that different from my Glock 45. I made a quite long and detailed video comparing muzzle flip angle between the Archon, a Glock 45, and a SIG M18. I found the absolute difference in muzzle flip between the Archon and the Glock 45 to only be 0.8 to 7.5%, favoring the Archon. The data I collected matched what I was feeling. That's quite a large range that I'm reporting. If you're curious how I collected, analyzed, and came up with that data, the bore axis comparison video is in the Archon playlist. Based on my shooting experience, what I was feeling, and some data I collected, this pistol didn't shoot much flatter than a Glock that was configured in a similar manner. So as far as I am concerned, the unique design and barrel locking system and premium price didn't result in much of a noticeable performance increase over a pistol that cost $300 or $400 less. Before I bought this pistol, I was pretty much done buying striker fired pistols. I own the ones that I like best. I've shot a bunch more. They're all similar enough, and they're just kind of boring to me at this point. Part of the reason I bought this one is because it's so unique. I was hoping that that uniqueness and its increased price would translate to an improved shooting experience over other striker fired pistols. But for me, it didn't. In my opinion, this pistol doesn't do anything particularly better than any other striker fired pistol, and it costs $300 to $400 more than the majority of the ones on the market. If this pistol was $500 to $600, I think it would be very popular and sell very well. Maybe the aftermarket would take notice and start offering upgrades that would allow the platform to expand. I don't know the economics of manufacturing costs in Germany where it's made, or the importation of this pistol to the United States by PTR. Maybe a price like that is just not feasible. I wanted to put this video out to offer my opinion and a different take than all the overwhelmingly positive ones I was seeing. I don't think this is a bad pistol. I just think it's overpriced and doesn't suit my preferences. I let some of the hype get to me. I fell into the trap of false expectations, leading to disappointment. Buying a $900 pistol that you think is going to be awesome, then finding out you don't even really like it is a bummer. Maybe if you're looking to buy this pistol, this video has given you other things to consider when trying to decide if it's right for you. As for this Archon, it will be leaving the Engineer's Armory and hopefully going to a more loving and appreciative home. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.